Nyctography, Episode 14, Fiction's Fine Print, the real gangs behind GTA 6. Grand Theft Auto has always built its criminal underworlds out of real places. Vice City in 2002 was Miami with the names filed off. Cubans, Haitians, Cuban-American gang wars. A cocaine economy running the whole city underneath a coat of neon paint. GTA 6 goes back to that same world in the same state, Leonida, 20-plus years later. And once you start looking at what Rockstar has actually confirmed so far, the line between fictional crime saga and documented Miami history gets a lot blurrier than you'd expect. Let's start with what's actually confirmed. Rockstar's trailers and official materials have named a handful of factions so far. Final Chapter MC, an outlaw motorcycle club, San for San, a Haitian street gang rooted in a neighborhood called La Perle, and hints at a Cuban-linked criminal element continuing the legacy of Tommy Vercetti's old empire from the original game. Rockstar has been explicit that GTA 6 exists in a separate continuity from 2002's Vice City, so nothing here is a direct sequel to old characters. But separate continuity doesn't mean no resemblance. And the resemblance, in at least one case, is hard to ignore. San for San, a Haitian gang, based in a fictional neighborhood clearly modeled on Miami's real Little Haiti, sits in almost the exact same cultural and geographic footprint as a real organization, Zoe Pound. Zoe Pound is not fictional. It's a real gang, founded in Miami's Little Haiti in 1990, born out of a wave of Haitian immigration and, according to founding members, an initial goal of protecting Haitian teenagers from other ethnic gangs preying on them. What it became by the gang's own former members' accounts was something much darker. Cocaine trafficking, armed robbery, and enough documented violence that federal prosecutors eventually charged more than 30 of its members under RICO organized crime statutes in 2013. Tying the group to murders, kidnappings, and large-scale trafficking. Zoe Pound is still active today, with law enforcement tracking its presence well beyond Florida, into New York, Chicago, and even the Bahamas. Here's where this stops being just a fun parallel and becomes something heavier. In 2006, a University of Miami football player named Brian Pata was shot and killed outside his apartment. The murder has never been solved. According to court records and investigative reporting, wiretaps and text messages connected to the case referenced summoning Zoes, a known street term for Zoe Pound members, with language investigators interpreted as a call to arm up. That reference has never conclusively closed the case, and no one has ever been convicted of Pata's murder. It remains, to this day, an open file with a real gang's name attached to it in the investigative record and no resolution. That's not something GTA 6 invented. It's something Miami has been living with, unresolved for nearly 20 years, sitting quietly underneath a video game that just happens to feature a very similar-sounding Haitian gang in a very similar neighborhood in a fictional version of the same city. The Cuban side of the story runs just as deep. GTA 6 leaks and community research point toward a returning Cuban-linked faction, with legitimate business fronts covering criminal operations. Almost a direct echo of the real cocaine cowboys era that defined Miami through the late 70s and early 80s. That era was built substantially on the Mariel boat lift of 1980, when roughly 125,000 Cuban refugees arrived in South Florida. The vast majority ordinary people seeking a new life, but among them, by government estimate, somewhere between 16 and 20,000 individuals, Castro had specifically emptied out of Cuban prisons before the boats left. Some of those refugees, now known to history as Marielitos, were recruited directly into the era's cocaine wars. Most famously by Griselda Blanco, the trafficker later known as the godmother of cocaine, who used Marielito soldiers as enforcers in a turf war so violent that Miami's murder count set a new record 3 years running, and the county morgue had to rent refrigerated trucks just to keep up with the bodies. Even Final Chapter MC, GTA 6's confirmed outlaw biker faction, sits inside a real, ongoing Florida tradition. The state has a documented decades-long history of outlaw motorcycle club territory and rivalry. The kind of organized, highway-controlling presence that's shown up in federal gang assessments for years, completely independent of anything Rockstar has written. So here's the honest version of the what-if question this episode opened with. What if the criminal empire you're about to spend hundreds of hours building in a video game isn't just inspired by Miami's history? What if some of its fictional gangs sit close enough to real, still active organizations that the line between playing a story and reading a headline gets uncomfortably thin? To be clear about what this is and isn't, there's no evidence Rockstar built San for San as a direct stand-in for Zoe Pound, or that any GTA 6 faction is meant to represent a real, specific organization. Video game crime fiction has drawn on Miami's real gang history for over 2 decades, the same way crime films and true crime shows do. What's genuinely striking isn't a conspiracy, it's how little embellishment the fiction actually needed. Miami's real criminal history was already stranger, bloodier, and less resolved than most things a writer could invent. Brian Pata's murder is still open, Zoe Pound is still active, and somewhere out there, when GTA 6 finally launches, players are going to run missions through a fictional neighborhood that looks a whole lot like the real one, still waiting for an answer. Next time, another file, another name worth remembering.